Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile in May of 1954. Don Bowden was a high school track phenom at San Jose's Lincoln High School with aspirations of winning a state half-mile championship. The thought never crossed his mind that someday he would be the first American to crack the magical mile barrier. Certainly there were plenty of other candidates, such as Kansas University's and future Hall of Famer Wes Santee. That was Bowden's take, especially after seeing Santee set the then American record of 4 minutes and 5/10 at the 1955 Compton Relays. Besides, Bowden regarded himself as a half-miler, still does to this day. And why not? As a high school senior, he was the first prep to dip under 1:53 for the half-mile. As a collegian, he captured an NCAA 880 crown. His best time for 2 laps was a swift 1:47.2. However good he was in the half-mile, his legacy in sports history is indelibly linked to the mile. After high school, Bowden chose to go to UC Berkeley. Academics was not the primary reason for this choice. Brutus Hamilton, a Hall of Famer who won a silver medal in the decathlon at the 1920 Olympics, had a reputation for being one of the more knowledgeable and gentlemanly track and field coaches of his time. Someone who had a knack for getting the best and most from an athlete. Bowden liked that. Before the end of his freshman season, Hamilton had Bowden compete in the mile. Don responded with a then national freshman record of 4 minutes, 11 seconds. It was the first mile he ever raced. Hamilton's half-miler was turning into a miler. When Irish middle-distance star Ron Delaney came to the Bay Area early in 1956 to prepare for the Melbourne Olympics, Hamilton encouraged Bowden and Delaney to train together. For 2 months, they ran unconventional and difficult workouts. At one point, Bowden worked through a nagging Achilles tendon injury. Despite the setback, at the tender age of 18, he made a play for the 1956 Olympic team. The 800 meters that year was loaded with talent. Hamilton suggested Bowden move up to the 1500. In the event final, it was the teenager versus the cream of the U.S. middle distance crop. It became a tactical race. In the final stretch, Bowden was still with the leaders. Near the finish line, a voice told him, "Gotta go now." He remembers launching himself at the finish line. 3rd place was his by inches. He would go to Melbourne. Bowden promised his father that he would make academics his first priority. Australia is below the equator, meaning the October Olympics were midway through Cal's fall semester. To make up for it, Bowden took double summer school sessions and earnestly trained for the Olympics. The combination was disastrous. Bowden contracted a serious case of mononucleosis. His strength sapped. He never made it out of the first round of the Olympic 1500. In the spring of 1957, Bowden ran a 4:01.6 anchor mile leg for Cal's medley relay team. Hamilton was convinced now more than ever that the 20-year-old could break 4 minutes. It was decided that he would go for the record at the Pacific Association Championships held at the University of Pacific on June 1st. All that week, Bowden was either cramming for finals exams, taking tests, or at the track. June 1st, 1957, Bowden finishes his last exam, an economics final. He is worn out, but uses the 2-hour drive to Stockton to decompress and think about the race. A crowd of 3,500 is on hand at the University of Pacific's Baxter Stadium. The weather is warm and clear. As Bowden warms up, he is sure the air contains more oxygen than usual. Hamilton and Bowden have told no one of their plan. The coach provides Bowden with terse advice. Go out at a 4-minute pace, then let it all out in the final lap. It takes less than a full lap for Bowden to take a commanding lead. On the backstretch, Hamilton barks out split times and screams, "You're right on, you're right on." The crowd takes more than passing interest when he comes through the half mile in just under 2:01. Public address announcer H.D. Thoreau can't help but react to the unfolding drama.
I'm not sure if everybody in the stadium comprehends what's happening here, but Bowden of California just ran through the first 3/4 of this race in just under 3 minutes. At his current pace, there's a very good chance he'll break 4 minutes. Less than a lap to go now. He's still got a shot. Around the final turn, here he comes. Come on, everyone, cheer him on. 3:46, he's taking for home. Let him hear you. 3:53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Oh my goodness. Check the watch. He did it. He did it. We just witnessed victory.
The prospects for the future seemed quite bright for Bowden. He would, he thought, be in his prime for the 1960 Olympics. By the time the next Olympics rolled around, Bowden had graduated from Cal as a junior officer in the U.S. Army Special Services. He could serve his country and train to run for it, too. Years of hard, quality training took a toll, though, and the Achilles injury came back to haunt him. During training for the All-Service Championships, a direct line into the Olympic trials, he felt a twinge, heard a pop, then fell to the track. The tendon was severed. Bowden was relegated to following the trials from his bed in the Navy hospital. Although he would never run the same again, he had plenty to show for his career. Not only was Don Bowden the first American to break the 4-minute mile, and the youngest to that date, but he held the record for nearly 3 years. Today, a plaque honoring Bowden's great athletic endeavor is posted on the UOP campus. Recent generations have little or no knowledge of what happened more than 50 years ago. For those of us who do appreciate the deed and its importance, well, thank you, Don. Thanks for the thrill of a lifetime.
But I know you've got a pretty big Cal contingency here. You've got a lot of fans. And
go Bears!
They wanted me to give you this replica jersey in honor of your achievements in track and field and entering the Hall of Fame and an emphatic Go Bears. So this is from your Cal contingent as well as us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Ed, for putting this all together. This will go into the Hall of Fame back in New York. So it'd be great to have another Bear back there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, after 50 years, you really do appreciate an honor of this magnitude. I congratulate my fellow inductees. Gee, I thought I was a good half miler until I saw that clip about Johnny Gray. He was absolutely fantastic. It's an honor to be included with this wonderful class. This occasion reminds me once again of my mother's reaction to someone interviewing me many years after the Stockton Mile. She would always say, "How can you keep that one race going on for such a long time?" I've been truly blessed with a supportive family. My sister, my parents, my sister Ann is here this evening, and her husband Mark, and my niece and nephew Kirsten and Craig. And I'd like to thank my sister and brother-in-law Ann, Nancy and Ed Bowen. And as I look around the room, I realize what a great gathering of U.S. track and field this is. I'm very thankful to the Boys of Winter for making the effort to be here. I think some of you go back, remember the Hall of Fame coach, Bud Winter, Jeff Chase, Ed Burke, Don Ramos, and Speed City. They're here tonight. Thank you. My old friends and teammates, Monty Upshaw, John Merchant, and Hall of Famer Bill Nader. Cal coaches Tony Sandoval and Ed Miller are here to support us. Thank you very much. I just think how fortunate we were to compete in the golden age of Bay Area track and field. And a very special thank you to my friends who worked tirelessly for many years to make this night possible for me. That's Steve Simmons, Hall of Famer Jim Beatty, and the founder of the Boys of Winter, Burt Bowden. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank my hometown friends for taking the time to be here tonight. I was very fortunate in my career, as you saw in that clip. I benefited from the genius and the wisdom of the Good Shepherd, Hall of Fame coach, Brutus Hamilton. Brutus's guidance and training were instrumental in my race at Stockton. We had a great relationship. He always had his boys ready for the big meets. It was important to him that we do our best performances at the end of the season. He had an uncanny ability to predict how fast I could run in a race. If my last mile was 4:10, we'd go in before the next race and he'd say, "Don, today you're going to run 4:05. 4:05? I can only run 4:10, coach." He said, "You're going to run 4:05, and this is how you're going to pace each lap." And race after race, I would go out and run the time that he had predicted. I relied on his 4-word pep talk: "You can do it." Based on the confidence I had in Brutus that had been built up over many races, when he said I was ready to run a 4-minute mile, I believed him. He said if the conditions were right, no wind, fast track, and I ran an evenly paced race, I was capable of breaking 4 minutes. It was to be my last mile of the year. We did not need any rabbits. You can do it. June 1st, 1957 was quite a day, as you've heard in that clip. In the morning, I did have an economics final. Studying for it, I had missed a few days of training. I began to wonder during the final whether I should really go and run the race that day. To make matters worse, there was right close to the exam room, Edwards Field, which is the track at the University of California. They were having a high school track meet. Every time the starting jump gun went off, I jumped in my seat. When I finished the final, I was tired, but decided to drive over to Stockton. It was a hot, hot day in the valley. But when the sun went down and the temperature dropped, it felt, like I said in that tape, there was more oxygen in the air. It just became easier to breathe. I don't have any scientific proof, but that night in Stockton, I swear, the air was loaded with oxygen. So when I stepped out of my car and took a deep breath, the decision was made. I was running. It was one of those nights in sports when everything went just right. I didn't have to have any problems. My tiredness disappeared. I went straight to the lead, ran 59.7 for the first quarter, and it felt easy. Too flat, pointy at the half. I was in my best running rhythm. The track was perfect, the air was clear and fresh. Brutus was on the backstretch shouting, "You were right on, Don, keep going." I continued to hit the lap times, 3 flat for the 3 quarters. My confidence was growing because I wasn't feeling tired at all. That's the amazing thing about that race. It came really easily. When with 2:20 to go, Brutus shouted, "You've got it, Don." And as you heard on the tape again, HD Throw was a very keen student of track, and he figured out pretty quickly that something special might be happening. And so he really began encouraging the crowd. And I could hear him building up the crowd, and as the crowd became more excited, I got more excited. And said, "Gee, this is great." He told them that he could be witnessing the first American break of the 4-minute mile. When I entered the home stretch and I began to hear that countdown to 3:51, 3:52, 3:53, boy, did that help. I just kept pushing and pushing all the way to the tape. When I finished, I knew something special had just occurred. But right away, I began to worry, as we all do, whether the track was going to be right, whether the timers were going to be right, was there going to be any kind of a problem. I was very fortunate the track had been measured properly that morning. The meet promoter had measured it just to make sure that everything was official. Someone handed me a big bouquet of flowers and I jogged around the track. Naturally, I wanted to find Brutus and thank him. But he had already gone outside the stadium to help one of my teammates get ready for his race. That was Brutus Hamilton for you, never taking any credit what his athletes achieved and always looking out for the next guy. One interesting sidelight that right after the race, the meet director presented me with a trophy for the outstanding performance of the meet, even though the mile was the first event on the program. I thought that was a bit funny, but I took the award anyway. I have been blessed with the convergence of weather, conditioning, coaching, hard work, and in Brutus's word, a divine gift for running. That was a very special day, a highlight in my life, but not just because of the historical significance, because I set a goal, worked for it, and made it happen. And whenever you can do that, whether it's in sports or business or anything else, it's always a fantastic moment. I've gone beyond the 4-minute limit tonight. Thank you for your patience. As I look around the bend and I see the final laps coming up, I look forward time to my precious wife, Betsy, and her lovely daughter, Susan, and her son, Peter. We are also our sister-in-law, Susan, and her husband, Ron. We'll enjoy life's adventures and many track meets together. I'm reminded of Brutus's words on his retirement. He thanked us all and said that on the days when it was cloudy and the fishing was slow, he could always retreat to his tower of memories. He had a special room for each of us that he'd like to visit. Tonight you've given me a memory that I will never forget. Until we meet again, I hope that we all will remember the words of Rudyard Kipling, to fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. In the words of Brutus Hamilton, you can do it. Thank you for this great honor. Go Bears!